Right, Assalamualaikum, salam hormat. Selamat datang ke episod ke-7 Rugby Syndicate Podcast, di mana kami main rugby di dalam minda. Ada bersama saya Rod Besar dan juga Syah, di mana kami sembang kari sembang kari tentang isu-isu semasa rugby dan isu-isu yang telah lepas dan of course isu-isu yang akan mendatang. So topik hari ni agak hangat sikit disebabkan kita akan cakap pasal injury. Syah, macam mana injury? Tunjuk sikit. Sini.
Lama tak kena jahit ni.
Orang
Jahit 6 jahit.
orang tak ada hal cik hal kan. So I think the best person untuk cakap pasal injury lah kan. Aku rasa aku orang biasa lah, tak ada medical degree kan. Sama lah besar dengan Syah. Mungkin Syah boleh cakap sikit lah. Sikit lah ya. Okay. Apa dari segi sport science, etc. But
faham lah kan.
Kau tak ada but I think the deep knowledge kita kena stand doktor lah. And so for that kita dah jemput hari ni Dr. Hazwan Khair, which is aku kena baca ni, pengarah unit kebajikan dan perubatan pemain. Aku kena ada Dok Hazwan je. Aku bagi dia as Dok Hazwan, Dok ataupun Wan. Okay, so sebab member kan. Anyway, Dok, thank you very much for being with us tonight. Sebab kita panjang nak simbang ni. Aku rasa sembang kari malam ni hopefully tak melarat sampai tengah malam lah. So okay, let's dive into it lah. Okay, sebab why I think a lot of people, our audience pun dah tanya juga in the comments to talk about meninggalnya tragedi lah. I think I would say it's a tragedy lah. Adik Muhammad Fauzan Muhammad Sulaiman from Sekolah Menengah Sains Johor tragically died during SBP Sevens. So I think, you know what, I'm just going to keep it open-ended. Comment.
Okay, first and foremost, thank you sebab jemput datang. Honored to be. Pleasure. Kadang tertanya juga bila akan dapat jemputan. Okay, so and then of course bila kes-kes macam ni jadi, dah expect lah there will be questions dan akan ada persoalan, orang akan tanya tentang apa yang terjadi. So kita kena berdasarkan fakta lah apa yang terjadi lah kepada arwah. Something yang kalau boleh tak ada siapa pun nak terjadi. Apatah lagi di atas padang. Okay. So this is dah seminggu, 2 minggu. 2 minggu lah. 2 minggu lah. Dah 2 minggu kes terjadi. Apa yang terjadi? Waktu rakaman ni, waktu rakaman ni dah 2 minggu. Yes. Dah 2 minggu. Okay. So cause of death yang kita dapat, of course kita tak akan cakap pasal hearsay ke apa ke dan sebagainya. Kita dapatkan daripada apa yang dilaporkan ataupun direportkan kepada polis untuk segi kematian, exsanguination of a psoas muscle tear. So exsanguination ni basically dalam bahasa Melayu dia adalah pendarahan lah. Disebabkan ada koyak dekat muscle psoas. So muscle psoas ni is a big muscle daripada belakang sampai ke kita punya pinggang lah. Okay. So bila kita tengok kes apa yang terjadi ni, it is very very rare lah. So sangat tak dijangka. Apatah lagi kita kalau nak cakap kematian di atas padang, yes, tu benda yang kita akan paling aware about. Tapi cause of death tu was highly unexpected lah.
So basically layman term je, muscle koyak dan pendarahan dalaman, betul?
Betul. So apa yang masa saya diberitahu lah, sebab of course saya kena buat siasatan. Walaupun kejohanan masa tu saya tengah jaga tournament lain. And then it's a school level punya tournament. So of course not really under Malaysia Rugby punya jurisdiction. So bila diberitahu tentang cause of death and confirmkan daripada postmortem punya result, paksa buat research lah. So actually ada satu paper back in 2015 dekat South Africa. Ada a similar case, cuma player tu dapat dikesan ada masalah ni lah. So I think kita tak boleh cakap pasal hearsay, tapi saya akan cakap pasal kes yang 2015 ni.
Yep.
Apa yang jadi, this player after training complain of low back pain lah. Dia rasa sakit kat belakang. Dan bila dah rest, bagi painkillers improve, tapi bila dia return to training, bila kena contact, sakit tu datang balik. So dan di sini kita boleh nampak the level of medical care ataupun awareness of the coach and management of this player in South Africa at that particular time. Ni kita cakap 2015 bukan 2025. Send for further check up, buat MRI dan CT scan, nampak ada hematoma. Hematoma adalah blood clot pada psoas muscle. So kat muscle yang terlibat tu lah. So kita boleh, kalau kita extrapolate lah kebarangkalian, sebab player ni return back to play sebab dia rest and remove for quite some time of play, and then they go through rehab and then clear to play. Okay, ada kemungkinan kalau apa yang kita boleh extrapolate, ni just jangkaan kita, kalau katakan hematoma ataupun blood clot tu dapat a second contact ke, tak mustahil blood clot tu pecah. Dan tu yang menyebabkan pendarahan yang berterusan. And then apa yang sekarang ni, yang I can just say, what I can say is more of a matter of assumption that could have happened lah. Sebab kita main rugby, kena contact dan sebagainya. Dia yang menyebabkan apa yang terjadi pada arwah. Dan I think everyone here different stories on apa presentation arwah masa dan ketika tu. Mungkin ada setengah yang dah nampak my report ke apa. This is based on first hand punya punya reporting lah. AR yang terlibat, referee yang terlibat dan medik yang terlibat lah. So basically tiba-tiba collapse, masa bawa pergi tent still okay, and then terpaksa CPR dan sebagainya. Okay, so it is something yang bagi saya kalau open endednya a bit worrying lah. Sebab of course yang kita paling risau rugby is head injury, tak kisah concussion ke brain bleed ke. And second, dalam sports kita banyak cakap pasal masalah jantung, tak kisah peringkat umur ke apa ke, tapi kalau bawah umur 18 ni selalunya sebab congenital issues lah. But then it goes back, sekarang ni adakah bila ada kes sebegini memang kita kena alert kah? So adakah yang terlibat kat dalam bahagian coaching ataupun player, adakah just a complaint of back pain? Kita kena be alert about. Kat situ yang kita kena be a bit careful about lah.
Sorry, on that kan, being a coach myself kan, the muscle tear ni, is it related to the psoas muscle sahaja ke yang boleh menyebabkan this, ataupun any muscle ataupun any major muscles? Mungkin boleh, he's got additional info for us.
So maybe kalau kita tengok anatomy psoas muscle ni, sebab dia memang menutupi abdominal cavity daripada belakang. So dia transverse. Kalau sebenarnya kalau kita nak rasa psoas muscle ni, ada doktor ataupun fizio ataupun terapis yang kata boleh rasa, ada yang kata tak boleh rasa. So still ada 50-50 in that sense. Tu how deep the muscle is lah. So apa yang saya boleh katakan, maybe because it's a deep muscle, jadi itu yang kita tak boleh jangka lah. Tapi usually muscle yang biasa-biasa ni is more, dia dalam enclosed space. Tapi mungkin akan bawa masalah lain juga. Kadang kita assume muscle tear ke apa ke, tapi dari segi perubatan, dari segi ortopedik dan perubatan sukannya, kadang blood vessel punya injury pun boleh jadi. Kita ingat bleeding from the muscle, tapi bleeding actually from blood vessel. Itu pun boleh jadi satu isu juga. So kalau orang cakap pasal injury, dia bukan something yang as simple, tak ada apalah. So biasalah benda tu terjadi. But this is where I think the lesson yang we have to take home, dan kita kena belajar bahawa kita tak boleh ambil ringan lah. Sakit tu is a warning sign.
Ya, dan tak semua orang sama kan dia punya simptom, basically apa yang dia tunjuk kan. Kadang-kadang macam yalah, macam even myself pun, dia start rasa sakit dekat area punggung dulu masa 2018. Pergi check kat ASN, macam initial diagnose piriformis syndrome apa semua kan. Buat MRI tak ada apa. Buat MRA masuk angio tu baru nampak ada labral tear. Tapi dia punya simptom macam piriformis syndrome. So macam So basically benda tu dia kena macam okay, orang ni cakap macam ni, then mungkin ada second opinion cakap macam ni. So barulah dapat MRI yang pakai dye tu baru nampak the exact cause of injury adalah labral tear sebenarnya. So tu ada.
Macam, basically it's pain threshold masing-masing different. Kerja kat macam Syah jahit sampai kena berapa? 6 jahitan lah.
Main balik
Main balik. Ada setengah orang.
Bini dia mengadu aku darah-darah masuk balik.
Baru 5 minit second half bye. Aku macam aduh.
Banyak lagi ni.
Member tengah fit kan. Anyway, aku rasa aku dah highlight two things lah. Number one is Dr. Azwan and also probably pihak MRU tak terlibat dalam that particular tournament SBP Sevens is because peringkat sekolah, apa yang aku faham tadi from our conversation jugalah, peringkat sekolah punya tournament dia punya jurisdiction dah lain, so that means it's not being sanctioned by MR itself. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dok.
Selalunya ada setengah tournament, the bigger tournaments dia akan buat notification lah, ataupun dia akan inform the intention untuk buat tournament. So macam JRC and then KL Tigers Stamps, Cobrats punya tournament. So usually kita akan dapat there's a tournament ongoing, and memang tak perlu hantar sanction pun, tapi ada yang hantar juga sanction. So we just make sure that.
Tapi mungkin yang tu because of tournament club yang buat anjurkan, macam SBP ni di bawah KPM kan, so mungkin totally jurisdiction tu di bawah dia orang lah kot. Maybe that's why dia tak reach out to MR ke.
Sefaham saya lah.
Should it be under MR or you know?
Should it be under MR, Dok?
It should.
Since you are from
Mungkin katakan dari segi perubatan, I think everyone dah read my official statement yang keluarkan tu. From what we have learned, and then kita dah cakap pasal player welfare ni, I think start daripada the first pengarah perubatan Dr. Azil and then Dr. Nick and then coming to me. We have tried to implement safeguarding of player welfare. Daripada dulu tak ada ambulance, ada medical team and all, and then Dr. Nick enhance with the number of personnel, and for me now is actually enforcing it betul-betul. Tapi maybe dalam circumstances yang kita tak berapa macam mana aku cakap, dalam keadaan yang kita terpaksa belajar daripada satu tragedi, and then this is where we have to enforce that apa yang kita nak buat now encompass semua, sanction, tak sanction, peringkat development, peringkat sekolah ke apa ke, we want you to follow our guidelines. So maybe because banyak je, I think semua yang involved kata mahal lah ambulance, mahal lah, we want a doctor, we want MA ke ataupun ataupun stretcher bearer dan sebagainya. Tapi how are we to move forward?
Betul lah tu.
Sebagai satu community dalam satu sukan kan. Betul. If a tragedy doesn't teach us anything,
betul.
Exactly.
Then I think.
And then one more thing sebab some tournament organizer kan ada awareness on that. Tapi bila diorang reach out to the certain healthcare provider ni, ambulance apa semua kan, yang mana datang tu dia tak competent enough tau to treat on field injury tau. So macam itu pun bahaya ke sebenarnya. Ambil contoh, macam contoh kata kita dapat yang tak competent ni, jenis yang tak berapa competent ni, yang ada sampai masuk padang lu tengok, okay, sekejap pergi balik. They're not trained to treat sports injury. Trauma. Yes, kan? So bagi aku lah benda tu pun nampak, yes ada awareness, kita ambil ambulance, tapi kompetensi orang yang kat situ tu pun memainkan peranan. So mungkin kalau ada sanction from MR dah ada contact yang macam okay, this ambulance provider apa semua adalah competent untuk treat on field injury. Okay,
talking about ambulance providers ni, kita ada banyak berlambak different costing. Semua orang akan cakap pasal cost ke apa ke semua. Yes, kita faham. And then orang akan kata, sebab I think semua tahu I came from rugby, Lepas tu masuk bola for a long duration, full time in betul-betul professional high performance setting, and then with my contract semua dah habis and for whatever is, now back to rugby and trying to bring that culture of high performance tu even though to an amateur level. Sebab tu dalam my statement, walaupun kita ni at community level amateur, I think we have to have minimum standards. So bila kita cakap pasal ambulance ke apa ke, I tak salahkan the organizer kadang-kadang sebab dia orang tak tahu. But then I think tu part of dia punya emergency action plan lah. Okay, kita nak organize, we have to take this ambulance. Tapi ambulance ni train tak? Dia punya staff ada tak? Maybe basic jaga sports ke apa. That's why the first aid in rugby comes in. Maybe for everyone ke. Tapi kadang kita pergi kat setengah tournament kata tu, oh dia orang datang macam ni. Yes, I don't blame. Tapi I think it's time where maybe orang akan kata MR. But there is so much that MR can do. Sebab bercakap sebagai, mungkin orang kata MR nak protect itself ke apa. I'm talking about secara logik sebagai one of those dalam MR as a director. I can give you guidelines. This is what we want, this is what we want. Tapi it goes back to the affiliates and the clubs. Oh, we need to fulfill guideline ni. Oh, kita nak standard ni. So this is where we work as a team. You create you punya medical staff termasuk ambulance. You have to go for training ah. Okay. Can we contact MR? We need these people to be trained ke apa ke. So sometimes orang hanya menunggu dekat we have been in a culture everything is top down. So in the end orang tak ada nak decentralized punya thought process. And saya tak tahu ni, MR tak bagi tahu. No, sometimes it's just common sense that we have to do something like that lah. So I think betul, but then I think it goes back to maybe the club's organisation. Kita nak make our club very attractive. So maybe
dia dah ada apa in-house punya basically yang apa ambil
someone that is trained lah, World Rugby Medical, apa dia bukan bagi first aid rugby kind of thing.
But I think looking back, I can only think about satu team je. I don't think I should be saying of a team yang dulu apply. I'm not sure sebab I didn't follow sebab the team tu masa training on weekends for diorang punya kids pun. They have an ambulance on standby. So what I can think of so far, I can identify only one team that does that lah. So if you're the team tu, nanti maybe you can comment.
I think I know which team lah.
Kan? Base kat Selangor.
Anyway, aku just nak highlight jugalah apa tu why aku cakap that your team or MR wasn't involved, so that our listeners ke siapa-siapa kat luar sana tak adalah salah. Kenapa Dr. Hazwan tak ada kat situ? Kenapa doktor ni tak ada? Bukan. So just to highlight that they were not involved with the tournament, so we cannot basically, bukan untuk menuding jari lah. So sekarang ni kita nak why kita panggil Dr. Hazwan to this podcast pun, kita nak membincangkan cara-cara, mungkin cara-cara nak mengelakkan, nak identify, dan juga in the future lah macam mana kita nak elakkan perkara-perkara yang tak diingini macam ni berlaku. One of the things yang aku duk dengar, hearsay ni orang duk cakap lah, ni rumours again. Bukan nak menimbulkan sebarang kontroversi ke apa, but I think it's part of the discussion lah. It's part of the discussion probably, and you can probably advise lah whether number one if it's true, and number two can you do it or not. Player yang meninggal tu arwahnya dengarnya demam masa hari tournament tu. Betul atau tak? And yes.
Okay, comment. So for me lah, as a doctor, I don't I don't judge on hearsay ke. I just based on facts. Let's say how fast the news that I got lah. I got the news at 11:45. Maksudnya dalam sejam setengah after the incident happened. And lepas main Jumaat, terus the medical yang in charge dapat the number of the MA yang tu. Dia terus bagi whole report. I managed to talk to the referees there and all. And in all honesty, I hats off to them. They did a wonderful job lah trying in apa capacity yang diorang boleh buat, the MAs, and the report yang diorang bagi memang complete.
Right.
And what was done and memang mengikut apa yang keperluan yang diperlukan lah. And how the AR recognise what happened to how fast. So it was done in a very good way. Tapi bila kita bercakap pasal arwah demam dan sebagainya, I in all due respect, it's all hearsay lah.
Yeah.
So apa yang saya boleh katakan, it's all based on the report yang I dapat and written documentation that I have lah. So but if you were to say about main dalam keadaan demam, we'll talk about everyone lah. Demam banyak sebab. Multiple causes of demam. Panas boleh, infection ke apa ke. Senang, kita nak main sports, it puts a lot of strain on the body. Tambah lagi dengan demam. Does it make a good condition for you to play? You boleh perform ke kalau you main dalam keadaan demam? Ataupun would you put yourself in more danger, stress to the heart? Ataupun katakan you tak tahu pun you ada asma, you tak ada asma dan sebagainya, you main tiba-tiba you sesak nafas dan sebagainya. So I think we had a discussion. Everyone knows my opinion about apa itu high performance, apa itu elite. What are we really fighting for? What are we really playing for? Is it worth it? Ataupun maybe just rest, we have a look at the next tournament dan sebagainya. This is a message to the players yang terlibat dan maybe the caregivers, the coaches, and especially now I think grassroots punya program a lot. We have parents wanting their children to play and all. Let's take a seat lah.
Chill lah jap.
Chill sekejap and then there's many more tournaments to play.
Betul. I think that's a very important message lah. Tapi we've gone through the same mistake juga lah dulu kan. Dia cepat-cepat nak return.
Tak, tu bukan mistake. Sebab we were the culture at that time. Kita pun dulu concussion, orang tu gelak tengok dia weng. Tak betul.
Awareness lah kan dulu memang.
We never knew. We thought it was part of the game.
Kan?
And
we take pride over it.
Bangga.
Aku masa MSSM 2007 tu nak main lawan Perak kot. Tangan aku bengkak sebelah sebab kena sengat apa tak tahu. Main. Tangan besar sebelah. Faham? Macam Popeye.
Budak rem. Kau tak apa, budak RMC. Memang tak.
Ayat itu tengok. MSSM kau selalu kau main. Benda-benda macam tu lah. Especially at so-called macam higher tier punya competition kan.
At that time tu lah ada kan. Yang kita kan dah lah semi lah lawan Perak kan. Tak main.
Tapi it's interesting that you bring up dulu masa zaman kita 10-15 years ago, berapa banyak tournament je ada? MSSD, MSSN, MSSM. That was the only 3 tiers that maybe
for school and big one.
Macam itulah. Itu kalau yang power sikit dapatlah main 6 tahun. Kalau bawah 15, dia main bawah 15, dia main bawah 18. Total lah 6 tournament setahun. Compare tu sekarang, setiap bulan satu tournament dengan itu yang that explains why banyak injury memang.
Betul.
FOMO culture is real lah.
FOMO culture is real.
I don't think it's FOMO. I think
gairah.
Okay, gairah maybe. I think FOMO falls under that lah. But I think it's the pressure that's being put on them.
Yeah, aku agree. Sebab apa?
By whom?
Kalau if I can relate to your case whereby you are in that prime age 17, 18 whatever, lepas tu kau dapat main MSSM, lepas tu tiba-tiba kau macam ada this bagi kau small injury, lepas tu you are at that age, kau eager, kau nak buat semua benda, kau nak you want to prove everyone. Itu of course lah, macam aku cakap FOMO, but at the same time lagi satu bagi aku kita punya pathway tu. Kita balik kepada pathway tu whereby mungkin lah kalau setengah player lah dekat negara-negara yang rugby country, diorang tahu yang they know if they are good enough, they are able to play club rugby and main NPC,
betul lah tu,
whatever. So dia tahu dia punya pathway tu is clear. Tapi kat Malaysia ni apa pathway?
But seriously at that time aku fikir habis MSSM tu habis lah. Aku tak nampak pun yang there's a club level apa benda lepas
there you go berbalik pada kan. So that's why aku rasa
MSSM tu that's it, aku dah achieve segalanya lah.
tapi interesting you were to say that lah. We don't see that pathway. Okay, what if I turn around the question, aku lah jadi panelist.
Okay. I love
what
this.
If we don't see the pathway sebab kita tak ada capability to do so? No, we are not talking about organisation ke organisational ke, tapi adakah we are talking about something as short as Piala Agong? Everyone I know have their thoughts about Piala Agong, terlampau pendek lah, and for whatever is. Tapi how many injuries do we get through Piala Agong? And you're talking about something as short as this.
2 months.
So for me, looking from medical punya point of view, orang selalu I pernah je kena marah dengan coaches ke, doktor, you stick to your job. You see, you tengok injury and then you bagi tahu apa yang nak kena buat. Okay, but in honesty, bagi saya dalam perubatan sukan, what I have to look at is what causes the injury.
Prevention.
Prevention daripada awal. So is it your style of play? Is it your coaching style? Is it your load monitoring tu yang menyebabkan tu, ataupun bila you main, is this the culture that you cultivate masa breakdown ke apa, this is the posture player punya capability to do so, and then lepas game pula I have to take recovery buat betul-betul tak. And then bila training pula, because it's worrying, bila kita cakap dalam game sebenarnya orang kata kenapa ada doktor masa game, injuries happen, only 30% of injuries happen during the game 70% tu yang kita banyak miss. So that's where kita kena fikir balik, adakah that pathway, sometimes if you want to build a proper pathway, kita kena ada substrate untuk create a league, let's say semi-pro, and not to talk about professional. And I know maybe some people don't like to hear what I'm saying, sebab me, Dr. Azri, Dr. Nick and all have been managing the national team for quite some bit. Would I say that we get broken products? I will say to a certain extent, yes. That's why our players cannot perform. So these broken products, I'm saying sebab they carry injury. From that carry injury yang dia ada, rehab tak buat betul, ada muscle imbalance bila nak masuk semua tu, and then when you go to the international stage, kenapa player kita tak boleh fulfill the demand of international rugby? No, because we already have dapat a set of players yang carry injury, carry suboptimal punya rehabilitation, suboptimal punya program. How can you perform and how can you create yang bila nak ada liga semi-pro and all, but can our body cope to that? Sedangkan an amateur league, we have a long list. I think looking at Piala Agong, some teams do have an issue with injuries and all, or action yang menyebabkan injury, kan? So it falls, dia ada banyak tu. So I think in order to start off pathway yang kita duk cakap tu, like World Rugby punya motto senang je, player welfare comes first. Full stop. So we have to look at that. So bila player welfare bukan takat injury, but are we coaching them well? Dapat proper body posture, dapat teknik yang betul.
So and education lah kot. Macam contoh kata education terhadap physical awareness kan. Their own physical awareness training, macam kita pernah cakap masa episod first itu kan. Bila diorang tak tahu diorang punya apa pathway yang diorang patut buat. Contohnya dah injured, apa dia kena buat? Wajib buat macam ni, wajib buat macam ni kan. Kebanyakannya akan tahu letak ais je. So berapa lama nak letak ais?
Urut.
Lepas tu pergi urut kan.
Lagi rest dengan harapan by resting tu
settle. Betul.
Betul, aku baru tahu something baru ni. Needling.
Jangan kacau.
Disclaimer, dry needling controversial sikit.
Dia laku kot. Tak, to a certain type of injury lah. Tak adalah semua benda kita nak needle kan. So itulah basically mungkin kita punya sistem kan bukan sahaja mengajar player untuk tahu main rugby in terms of posture, apa benda semua, teknik kan, tapi in taking care of themselves juga. Maksudnya getting ready nak main kan. Macam kita cakap tu, fit to play, not play to be fit kan. So basically benda tu sangat-sangat penting lah kan. Kadang-kadang orang tak tahu, dia assume that macam bila aku main tap lalu apa semua and okay lah, ready lah, gym sikit kan, okay siap, ready. Betul lah. Kadang-kadang phases of training tu pun maksudnya awak kerja duk bulking kan, lepas tu main game, kena kontak pedih mat muscle. Tak boleh.
Injek ni sisi kena sisi kepada Din Ketoi dengan Pulut. Please take note.
So betul lah kan. Macam bila duduk dalam training camp kan dengan Abang Din kan, yes, kita nampak benda tu, tapi ada kekurangan dia adalah time lah kan. Dia tak dapat nak deliver the syllabus of SNC yang diperlukan because kita punya training tu agak short. Banyak ni lah limitation lah kan. Kalau kita buat research tu, ala-ala limitation tu kan. Benda ni lah.
So it goes back. Bila cakap pasal injuries kan, injuries macam we had a discussion sebelum Syah datang tadi dengan Rod. For me, apa-apa kecederaan, injury does not come by luck, chance. Dia bukan nasib. Yes, for me senang je. Kalau I treat, it has to fulfill 3 criteria. Satu, everyone will have dia punya intrinsic factor lah, faktor risiko yang menyebabkan dia boleh dapat injured. So age, umur, gender, dia punya apa in terms of previous injury dan sebagainya. Secondly, kena ada precipitating factor. So this is where kita akan tengok how they were trained, dia punya methodology, dia punya technique. So that's why kadang kita tak boleh nak group one tournament tu semua orang boleh main. So that's why there are different levels, different division semua dan sebagainya. So those are the things that fall under that. And then mesti ada inciting factor. Orang duk cakap inciting factor, dia high tackle, padang buruk lah. But then
so how many percent je that inciting factor tu punya percentage in injury punya?
Bagi saya senang je. It has to fulfill all these 3. Inciting factor tu, katakan kalau the ground tu tak cantik, weather tak cantik, but if you are trained to play in such a condition, you have very good control, and then you address you punya intrinsic factor, maksudnya muscle imbalance, you have no previous injury, you buat you punya prehab ke, then mungkin daripada 30 orang yang main 15, so kenapa kau seorang je injured? Semua orang kena tackle, semua orang side step, semua orang play on a slippery surface. But then again, that matter of luck, maybe I would say we'll just put 1%. So you have to fulfill, for me senang, maybe other doctors ada opinion lain. So bila I manage any injuries ke, I can, yes, I know padang buruk, but did you choose to play there? Tak boleh, tak tahu ada tournament dah buat kat situ. Okay, then you had no choice. Okay, but then did you train yourself well? Did ankle you terpelecok? You tak cakap pula you tak warm up betul-betul. You tak cakap pula you tak buat agility, you tak buat you punya ankle strengthening. Dululah saya pernah injured. Then you tahu you ada risk factor, intrinsic risk factor tu, but you do something about it. So you have previous injury, lepas tu you didn't train yourself for it, padang buruk, masa itulah inversion injury. Ramai je kalau kita nampak macam flap, kena tackle, bangun relax je. So that's where sometimes kita kena tengok, try to look back on ourselves, buat apa yang kita buat dan sebagainya. So this is where kadang-kadang coaching tu kot penting. So diorang kena tahu especially intrinsic factor. So I think everyone dah deal dengan age, adolescent youth sports, especially masa growing. That's where coaches kena faham, kenapa dia punya sakit kat depan lutut tu? No, it's growing pains. Oh, tapi dia boleh main tak? Dia boleh main tak? Tak. You have to understand dia punya pain threshold macam mana. Bila dia sakit, dia akan ubah dia punya movement ke dan sebagainya. So, tak apalah. I hantar you dekat physio. I hantar you to a rehab coach ke apa ke. You strengthenkan benda ni. So that's where we have to move lah.
Data is important lah.
Data is important.
So basically, it's a very long way to pro lah.
I think sebab where we have to focus on, orang selalu cakap ke atas, but you don't talk about the tip of the pyramid tu. The base tu, kita create tak base tu?
No, aku tu Biono, aku pening kepala sikit. Aku dengar kau cakap malam ni.
Weh, sebab
heavy. Okay, tak. Having said that, apa yang kau dah cakap, all the technical stuff, you know, we were talking about pathway, lepas tu all this injury, how to prevent, the injury factors. Okay, kau as a medical, director of MR, and then you boleh cakap been there dan that lah. Kau dah tengok macam-macam injury, kau dah assess macam-macam injury, kau dah tolong bantu player pulih balik from all these injuries. Okay, where should we start? Where should everyone start? Bagi aku 3 benda. Where should we start? These 3 things lah. Kalau if we need to start somewhere, these 3 things yang everyone needs to emphasize.
Ni you didn't email me this question. Okay, so
soalan surprise.
So 3 things I think goes back to understand what is rugby.
Okay.
Everyone yang nak involve in rugby have to understand what is rugby. What are the demands of rugby? Itu nombor 1. Nombor 2, kena faham apa risiko main rugby dan risiko bersukan. Nombor 3, kena tahu apa nak buat untuk mitigate risiko. So it comes to back to play welfare, knowing kita punya first aid, and then knowing the proper coaching methodology. Lepas tu bila nak organize tournament, nak bawa team pergi tournament, kita tak boleh main banyak sangat. I think everyone we are looking at that. Sebab I think this past 2 weeks tiba-tiba banyak benda jadi, including World Rugby punya newest guideline pasal player load.
30 games a year.
So katakan 30 games a year. So kita dah cakap kita nak main rugby, kita tahu macam mana nak main rugby. Okay, and then coaches kita tahu kita dah coach rugby, the technical. Okay, I'm not talking the technical tu betul ke tak, tapi bila loading, tapi kena banyak main lah skill tu.
Badan season
baru badan season boleh dia dapat experience tu dan sebagainya. But then why would rugby says maximum 30 games? Tu elite. Dan masa tu kita nak bezakan, ada pula elite dengan community level, sedangkan community level punya training tak se-intense as elite punya level. So kat sini bila any guidelines keluar, semua orang kena be aware. That's where it starts. What is rugby? What are the risks of playing rugby? What we can do playing rugby.
Untuk hire consultant boleh telefon Syah 01.
Saya agent dia.
Okay, aku ada the next question lah. I mean, people have been talking about last weekend lah, at this point of recording time ni, quarter final. Macam you cakap tadi, we need to understand the game. Of course, we need to understand what rugby is all about. Kan? Quarter final in Johor, I'll get in trouble by saying this, but it needs to be discussed. Selangor lawan Johor, whereby Selangor listed only 16 players for a 15-a-side match, meaning they have only 1 substitution for the match. Comment.
Other than those facts, I cannot comment further. Okay. Yep. So it goes back simple to the laws of rugby. What is the minimum number of players allowed on the field to start a game? Kan? So if I'm not mistaken, kalau 7s, you need at least 5 on the field. So 15s, I'm not sure. 13. If I think. So we have to go back.
I had the same number, 13 juga.
So 13. So if we were to reverse
3 front row.
Okay, 3 front row.
3 front row.
You can fulfill that criteria. Is there any harm? Did they do anything wrong? No. in terms of player welfare, no, World Rugby states it's allowed. So even if they want to register 16 player, nak start dengan 13 and 3 on the bench ke, by all means, because it fulfills the law. Kan?
But there wasn't 3 front rows on the bench. I think. Yeah, I think that's for the sake of discussion. Kita bukan nak.
So I think so. It goes back to the matter of the law. So the law takes player welfare into consideration. So dia dah cakap minimum number players on the field. So in that sense, if you are talking about player welfare punya point of view, by all means, it's within their rights for whatever issues ke apa ke, I cannot comment. But then again, if we were to talk maybe at a lower punya age group, because kita tak nak cakap pasal elite punya level lah. I think bila kita nak senang, bila development punya level, I had this one situation dekat JRC. One team basically in one game had 1 MCL injury, 3 concussion.
Oh.
Okay, so registered player 12. Okay, so apa, you dah ada 1 player out. 3 player memang permanently out of the tournament. Tapi so 12 tolak 4. So you have 8 players. So of course coaches bising lah. And boleh tak ni concussion sure ke dia concussion ke? And because this happened on the JRC main 3 hari, on second day, on the third day, diorang dah tak ada symptom dah kan. So of course dah symptom, kita tak cukup player ni nak main dan sebagainya, kata kita ada only one person on the bench and all. So now I akan pusing balik soalan. So is it safe for them to play? No. According to the law, no, it is safe. You can play with 5. You can have 3 on the bench. Yeah. Okay, but then the result maybe that will affect the outcome. But then you don't come to me, player concussion, dia dah okey lah. You fikir pasal player yang atas padang, tapi you tak fikir yang dah confirm dah injured, yang we have ruled out for a very significant injury. So if you are really worried about a certain condition ke, you ada too many injury, you cannot field players, take the high ground lah. If you have to pull out the team because of injuries, people will respect you more for that. Yes, of course you have your aims, you ada KPI, but justification is there. I tak boleh nak prevent concussion.
Rezeki tu di tangan Tuhan.
So kita kena go back to that lah. So the rules is clear on how many can start and how many can play, but the justification to play on tu berdasarkan judgement team masing-masing.
Dan juga aku nak highlight juga kat semua orang why I think concussion is can be considered a major injury. Is it a major injury or a serious injury lah? Sebab apa, anything that has to do with the head, there's been ada study lah few years ago in the US. So the conclusion is this particular condition is called CTS. CT, which is
syndrome, CTS.
CT, which is apa bahasa Inggeris je?
Chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
So basically dekat dalam kepala ni ada blood stains or something like that, whereby benda tu permanent and it affects the person's judgment, the person's ability to carry out their daily life, which is serious lah. And that happened, I think it's because of mismanagement of concussion. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, so that's why we are talking about medical lah. Sebab tu orang kata kena ada doktor ke standby. Actually doctors yang being on standby masa games, we are actually putting ourselves at risk sebenarnya. But if anything happens, we are accountable.
Yeah.
So saya pun nanya kenapa nak kena bayar doktor mahal sangat.
Sebab belajar lama kot 7 tahun.
Yeah, but I ni off topic sikit, but I have to say actually yes, kalau in terms of sports coverage, I would say the rates of doctors yang jaga rugby ni a bit on the higher side. Sebab as compared to ada je national team yang I know that have been involved, actually bayar their rates nearly only half of what MR is paying dia punya match day doctors. Okay, so just sidetrack that. But yes, it's all about cost. But then I think nanti lepas ni kena panggil orang yang involved in sports management lah untuk cakap pasal all the costings and all. Because the doctors put themselves on the line. So if someone sustain a serious injury, sanction ke tak sanction, in any scenario, we have to do the reporting. So contoh terbaik, banyak team Piala Gondok boleh tak referral letter for insurance purposes. Okay, you hantar for insurance claim, tiba-tiba insurance tu nak contest you punya claim tu, dia akan call doktor tu about 1 month later. Doktor tu tak ingat apa pun. I think I wrote a referral letter tu. Bayangkan the doktor tu punya tanggungjawab bukan masa kat Padang je, kat luar Padang at any time, and then you want to contest if anything happens ke apa ke. Saya doktor tu pun boleh kena tarik pergi court. Dah satu hal. So that is the legal implication juga of the doctors being on the field to help and to assist. And then tadi, what was the question? Sidetrack jauh gila.
No, basically pasal concussion. Why concussion is being taken seriously lah by World Rugby and also I think by doctors. So I take concussion very seriously. Yeah.
Sorry, I had minor concussion just now.
Okay. Yes, you did.
So senang je. Patah tulang boleh plate, boleh plaster.
Betul.
Okay. Katakan you ada masalah darah, you are anemic, okay, boleh transfuse darah. You have brain injury, can you replace your brain?
Cannot.
As simple as that. So katakan kalau kita tukar concussion tu kepada kecederaan otak, does it sound more serious?
Yes.
Dah, full stop. Concussion is a brain injury. Dah. So kalau orang kata minor, no, it's a brain injury. Mungkin dia jadi dalam short period of time dia punya symptom, dia recover, tapi dalam tu we never know. So that's why it happens. Maybe end product dia is maybe CTE ke apa ke, we never know. So to answer your question, why we pandang, I've never heard about a brain transplant being done before. And I don't think forever it akan jadi successful pun. It can never be done.
More than 11 years ago, I still remember masa tu Super League punya game. Team mana aku tak nak cakap because kita tak nak buruk-buruk orang lah. Tapi masa tu that player had a injury kat kepala lah. Kita daripada jauh memang dapat tengok, memang dapat identify ini concussion. Sebab apa, player tu bangun terhoyong hayang. Lepas tu coach ke siapa aku tak ingat suruh main lagi. Continue. That time aku rasa the concussion wasn't taken that seriously, and again protocol by refs apa semua tak wasn't clear at that time lah. So and I was very concerned lah masa tu, tengok gila lah, sebab masa tu aku dah tengok cerita concussion tu kan. So yes.
Tapi kan kadang-kadang the effect is not immediate pun, macam yang saya kena lawan KL Tigers tu. Masa Malaysia friendly kan, kena boom, memang pening lah kan. And then dia macam pening, and then okay, memang okay, totally okay sampai habis game kan. The next morning tu bangun je okay, bangun daripada katil dia terus dan muntah. So maksudnya, tapi
kau ingat tak?
Ingat lah. Tapi dia pening lah, dia berpusing.
Ingat, tapi yang report dia bukan dia, wife dia yang telefon. Syah komplain pening, lepas tu dia muntah-muntah. Concussion dah tu.
Thank you, Abi.
Aku pernah dengar satu case by the teammate nama Gerald Smith. He's from the Netherlands, Holland lah. So cerita dia kena concussion. Lepas tu sekejap lagi dia masuk dalam shower. Orang semua dah habis shower, dah pakai baju, dia still mandi. Dia tak habis mandi lagi tau. So orang tengok dia. RSC dulu tak ada pintu kan. Kalau siapa pernah main RSC lah. So tengok, apa salah dia ni, duduk sabun kepala 4-5 kali tak berhenti kan. Lepas tu dia cakap, are you okay? I'm okay. Lepas tu sekejap lagi, then after that dia identify, ni kena concussion ni. Sebab dia asyik tanya soalan yang sama. Then after that hantar pergi hospital. Dia tidur. Lepas tu sekejap lagi dia bangun, wife dia kat sebelah. Dia kat sebelah dia, oh okay, dia happy lah. Lepas tu sekejap lagi ada anak dia sampai. Siapa tu? Dia tanya, siapa tu? Lepas tu sekejap lagi wife dia cakap, oh that's your kids. Oh yeah, ada. Dia terkejut. So of course he got better lah. But you know, those aku boleh ingat one of the memories lah yang concussion ni. Lepas tu Abang Jeb Azmi masa dia kena concussion, aku ingat aku pergi hospital tengok dia. Lepas tu masa dia tak kahwin, dia bujang. Lepas tu dia dengan member dia tengah sembang. Lepas tu sekejap lagi ada, masa tu dia menyawet sembang dengan dia. Lepas tu sekejap lagi awet dia belah. Sekejap lagi tanya member dia, tu siapa tu? So yeah, effects of concussion. Yes.
Concussion is real lah
concussion is real. Alhamdulillah tak pernah kena dia.
Umur rugby protocol dah increase from 14 to 21 days. Has it been officialized yet?
Dia sebab bila kita cakap ni, there's still some bukan kita kata tak berapa clear. Sebab kita sekarang just still follow GRTP tu semua, all the infographics yang ada. Tapi those yang rajin to update dia punya first aid rugby online ke apa ke semua dah automatically cakap 21 days. So that's where sometimes ada contact dulu 14, 21 and then still kita tengok kat infographic still like this and all. No, we have to tengok kat education punya level tu apa. And then ada setengah tu sekarang still nak contest lagi lah. And I have to put to a certain extent puji lah towards our players, senior players. Okay, I'm talking about yang umur 25 ke atas, 20 and above. I'm not that worried about concussion. Somehow the message pasal concussion is understood universally lah kat Malaysia. Kalau kita cakap dia boleh nampak muka tak puas hati, tak boleh main ke apa ke, and coaches ada setengah concussion itu. But that I'm worried about youth and development level. I was quite surprised bila I had to jaga a tournament and seeing how okay lah, bila tengok the game tu I pun rasa lagi ngeri tengok youth punya tournament dari tengok senior.
In what sense dia punya ngeri tu?
Again, I think this is where coaching comes in lah. How they fall, cara jatuh. Ini main jatuh, main letak macam tu. Cara dia tackle, cara dia masuk ruck, cara dia masuk scrum. So you see, ini kalau tengok kat tepi pun kadang terpejam mata je.
Ngeri lah, ngeri.
Ngeri Ustaz. But then of course when that happens, you have the you have the byproduct, the injuries and the concussion. Sadly to say, dalam maybe I cakap dalam 10 concussion ni, if I were to talk to 6-7 bila nak discharge kata concussion tu, about 6-7 parents, coaches or penjaga, so dia boleh main balik lepas ni. So that is a worrying trend. I feel sebab I don't get this question dekat senior level, but at youth punya level where we have much more to, and I personally would feel parents yang involved or coaches yang involved, teachers yang involved, diorang akan titik beratkan perkara ni. But then what I get is like, ya ke? Or to a certain extent, I think was quite ada hoo-ha juga back, dah lama sangat dah rugby, I think nearly 8 years ago, 9 years ago, si ada parent bawa doktor lain datang nak berdebate. This is not concussion. No. Masa tu maybe I look far younger ke apa ke. You young doctor, apa yang you tahu? I got this from a parent. So it's a worrying trend, and I was hoping that through as the years ke dah buat fair banyak kali ke apa, it is improving. But I'm not seeing that at youth level. So we are having katakan kalau kita nak follow World Rugby ni guidelines sekarang in terms of play, kita tengok dia main weekend Sabtu Ahad, lepas tu tiba ada midweek punya game, lepas tu ada weekend punya game lah.
Okay, lepas tu kan macam bila cakap pasal weekend, midweek, and then weekend lagi satu tu punya game, and then tengok dekat MSS KL dah few years dah, pagi petang and then playing 15s. Of course lah dia cut short time tu jadi macam 30 minutes ke macam mana, 25 minutes ke. But then during I think time aku lah kan dulu kan, tak ada benda ni. It's just bila MSKL tu dia macam okay, ni time dia kan. Now dia dah cuba macam pendekkan for I don't know lah financial reason ke apa, but then
Macam fikir Perak ada pagi petang. Aku ingat
dulu masa
pagi petang aku kena extreme dehydration. Aku cramp satu badan kan. Dia sekarang pun gelak.
Dia berketul-ketul tu pasal
kena ni dia ada sekarang apa rhabdomyolysis yang macam muscle kau breakdown kan because of kau exert too much work kan, so menyebabkan muscle kau breakdown tu boleh menyebabkan kematian kat tu sebenarnya tu, rhabdomyolysis tu. So tak tahu lah,
major lah, major.
For me it should not be like that lah. Aku benda ni memang kalau orang yang bercakap dengan aku memang aku anti betul lah. Yang tournament 15s playing pagi petang kan. Ingat main kat ni ke?
Tapi aku nak ikut the message of Dr. Azwan tadi lah. Kita duk cakap at the tip of the pyramid kan, tapi dekat base ni macam ni kan. Kita duk sibuk kat atas ni, kat bawah pagi petang fitting 2 hari betul-betul. So it needs to change lah. Betul.
It's not safe pun sebenarnya lah. Macam kalau nak cakap about financial lah, aku macam sekarang dah 20-25 kot, parents involved, so mungkin parents pun kena ambil World Rugby punya, you know.
Can I be a bit cheeky? Mungkin ada orang rasa macam patut ke doktor komen macam ni ke, but because this is I feel something yang valid lah. In terms of expenditure ke apa ke, I think looking at overall all the sports in the country lah, I think kalau main sukan lain macam main bola, nak main sosial pun dah kena bayar RM35 orang satu malam. Untuk sejak bukan tu. Tu dah berkubur. Ya, katakan kalau kita main kan, tapi kita put into that perspective, play rugby, how much do you spend just to play? So betul. If we were to start that, nanti orang kata nanti ada orang songlap dia kan. No, let's put this into perspective dan sebagainya. We have to be, if you want to start be professional, kita kena start to trust everyone. Kita ada framework itulah. You can wear a 700-800 ringgit punya boot, but you tak boleh nak kurangkan that harga boot RM100-200. I don't know, I started off playing rugby, main bola pakai boot Ambrose beli kat Giant je kot. Harga RM40. Tak pun dulu power pun kira mahal lah, RM90. Kan? But then as for me, yes, style and all kita galakkan, yes, you look good and all, but then proportionate tak if you spend on footwear but then you don't spend on welfare. So now you're putting footwear to higher than welfare. So that's why bila Syah kata cakap pasal financial tu ke apa ke, no, I think I'll be perfectly honest, to a certain extent dekat school level now, the financial strength tu is much more stronger daripada dekat club level or Piala Agong punya level because of parents-nya support. Bila kalau macam tu, we should have like a proper tournament lah, proper season lah.
Having said that, aku just nak highlight jugalah, sekarang ni school tournament yang duk generate banyak duit. Let's look at MCKK Sevens. Corporate support berapa banyak? Of course itu dia sebab dia punya old boys, very strong support dia punya old boy community lah. And super schools. Well, I don't kata okay. Kadang is those are in kind. I'll just have a good look. Tapi I like to see, jaga sekarang junior tournament, tengok boot dia orang pakai. Mahal-mahal boot tu. Okay, so if that expenditure can go there, then I think you can also spend a little bit more on making the sport safer. And I think this is kalau on MR punya side, after going back to what happened 2 weeks ago as of recording, kita pun nak mengadakan dialog lah dengan pihak-pihak tertentu, maybe nak susun balik
everything in terms of the scheduling of tournaments and why certain sports boleh buat at school level this kind of tournament, tapi maybe rugby should start to follow suit. Maybe it's time for us untuk buang sikit ego tu. It's like, this is how it has been all this while.
Betul.
This is the type of rugby we've played ke apa ke. But adakah benda tu beneficial for the game in the long run? So I think people yang dah, for me, I'm not a fan of touch rugby. Because I find there is no
Thrill.
bukan thrill. I don't find in terms of skill wise tu akan improve macam mana. I would say kenapa tak main flag rugby? Because I think that is something yang before this World Rugby ada push forward. Nak kena beli flag tu. No, but at least if you nak grab the flag tu, you takkan main ulur-ulur macam ni je. No, you have to get your body posture right, and that's the tackling height. So from a young age, you tak ada contact lagi, but then at least you already learn the proper posture. So kat situ from a grassroots level, you already get certain cardinal movement tu dah betul. So tak adalah bila nak tackle you use your body weight to drag.
Talking about tackle.
Okay.
This year alone, I'm sure you've heard about this lah. Kita ada 3 cases of broken
limbs.
Broken limbs lah kan. So all coming from hip drop tackle. So any thoughts on the tackling technique itself?
It goes back to again the law. Is it a legal tackle? Yes. But is it the most effective or the safest?
No.
But then kenapa dia kena buat that hip drop tackle tu? Goes back to that lah. In that situation. Sebab I've encountered coaches yang kadang players tanya, what should I tackle this way or this way or this way? No, it looks on the scenario. But sometimes maybe orang yang bermain tu dia sendiri boleh jawab. Kenapa kau buat tackle macam tu? I was in this position nak tu. Okay, fair enough. Just unlucky. But to answer about this broken limb, maybe kita kena put a proper analyst. Maybe kena panggil petak ke. Petak cuba tengok dalam this one game how many this type of tackle happen. And then maybe then we have to go back to our coaches juga. Bincang, is this the best tackle that you can make in this situation? So tu bila cakap pasal injury, dia bukan nasib. So is it bad decision making? Is it bad technique? Or is it just that 1% luck? So kita tak boleh kata that the outcome of this is this, sebab we see plenty of that particular tackle tak menyebabkan injury pun.
Aku rasa it's a combination of all three. Sebab apa, kalau cakap pasal the letter of the law memang tak ada, there's nothing wrong with it lah. Basically cakap as long as you tackle below the shoulder line, you are fine. This is not a high tackle. Dia tak ada cakap definition of hip drop ke, if you come from behind and if you pull the player down and if you fall on the player's feet, dia tak ada cakap.
That's the agak interpretation of dangerous tackle. So that's why intentionally targeting the knee and all. So this is sometimes where kita pun kena go back kepada what is rugby, what is the principle of rugby, kenapa kita main rugby and how to do it. Sebab ada setengah tu bila dah, what is the intention of that tackle tu? Kau nak saja bagi dia sakit ke or injured ke? Orang yang buat tackle tu dia yang boleh menjawab.
Tapi mungkin jugalah probably the letter of the law, World Rugby, Malaysia Rugby, Asia Rugby can also consider. Let's say when we talk about hip drop tackle, then kita boleh apply the severity of the outcome of the tackle. So let's say kalau bad injury, so what kind of sanction? Let's say 2 weeks, 3 weeks ban, ataupun kalau katalah tak ada injury, yellow card je, maybe the threshold tak adalah, there's no standardized threshold, but there is a guideline lah that we can follow, and also there's a certain definition yang at least everyone can refer to lah, rather than macam now it's just talk lah kan. Kita semua cakap sembang, this shouldn't be done. Of course, sure, but there needs to be a definition coming from, I think, World Rugby itself, Asia Rugby, Malaysia Rugby. Probably, you know what, kalau dua ni tak nak start, probably I think Malaysia Rugby should start lah. But macam kau cakap lah, the stats is not, does not favour our players lah. So
I agree to a certain extent. Sebab we need all this lah. But again, go back to Shah punya reason, beef sikit tadi. It comes to cost. So as a whole community, we have to come to a consensus, where do we want our sports to go lah. Kita nak ke arah mana. So I think from this discussion I think dah nampak everything leads back to player welfare. Even pasal coaching methodology, pedagogy dia, lepas tu in terms of law. So in the end it goes back to, does it just come to me as a doctor, diagnosis, dia patah nanti itulah. So I think kalau nak cakap pasal modern scenario in terms of sports medicine ke apa ke, the challenge is that we are looking at more things. So now you tanya opinion, tackle tu boleh menyebabkan fracture macam ni ke? So then we have to go look at the facts lah. And then kena bekerjasama dengan the analysts, and then we have to look at the coaches, and then look at the referees. So it's not as simple as that. So maybe kalau in hindsight, kalau orang tanya, boleh, kita ada doktor, I want to see if he's certified or not, and then baru kita boleh ada a good discussion.
Definitely. I think kalau kita nak teruskan perbincangan, sampai besok tak biasa. Anyway,
dia keluar buku anatomi lah guys ni.
Kan lagi dia bawa keluar dia punya skeleton. Anyway, Doc, thank you very much for coming. Aku rasa we had a good discussion, another good discussion. Kita punya discussion selalu berilmiah. Aku bukan apa, aku nak claim level 1 medical certificate daripada dia, sebab kira dia macam course tadi. Anyway, again, Dr. Azwan, thank you very much for coming. And of course, aku hopefully you can, and I'm sure you will be part of that contribution to change the landscape of how we do things in Malaysia, and of course through this type of discussions, and of course we always appreciate this nuanced conversation.
This yang part yang orang selalu take macam one eye je.
It's so granted lah.
Sebenarnya sangat penting actually to start a club, to start apa benda pun. So mungkin kena emphasize more
cost.
Duit. So apa pun guys, jangan compromise safety. Make sure your players are healthy and good in well condition. So you know what, I think kita dah sampai ke penghujung episod ke-7. See you again in the next episode ke-8. I'm Rod.
Syah.
See you again, and this is the Rugby Syndicate Podcast. Kami bermain rugby di dalam minda anda. Goodbye.